You will never be the same again. Hello, my friend. This is Clyde. Intimacy is very important in a relationship. When a man and a woman engage in the most intimate experience, things change. The relationship shifts to a whole other level. Today we're going to talk about those one-on-one moments with Jesus. Just the two of you. Precious, priceless, powerful, personal, intimate moments with your Lord. You'll never be the same again. One of my most treasured scriptures that represent a level of intimacy with God speaks of the heightened ecstasy that you experience when you're alone with Him. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Psalm 16 verse 11. Please don't miss what happens when you're in the presence of the Lord. During those moments, it's like a one-on-one moment with the King of all kings. It's as if God takes time out of His busy schedule to devote that moment to you. In that moment, there is no telling what will happen, but trust me when I say you will never be the same again. There's a song, the chorus of which says, "In the presence of Jehovah, God Almighty, Prince of Peace, troubles vanish, hearts are mended in the presence of the King." That is a raw sentiment in part of that song that brings you into that place where you just want it to be just you and Jesus. You ought to listen to it sometime. Do you remember Jacob in the Old Testament? Now please understand that Jacob was no angel. He lied, he cheated, he got his brother's birthright, he outsmarted his father-in-law. Jacob was a true rascal. But God loved him in a special way. There is this beautiful account of Jacob and God in a one-on-one meeting. No, God was not going to punish him. God was not going to hurt his feeling. That story talks about the intimacy between God and Jacob. In the end, God blessed him. That night would never be forgotten by Jacob. He limped for the rest of his life because of the events of the night with God. Jacob left that night with a new name from God. Genesis 32 verses 22 to 32. In that moment, he heard these words, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Life was never the same for Jacob, and his relationship with God became so much more meaningful. I'm thinking of Moses. You have to understand this relationship. God and Moses met when Moses was 80 years old, and for the next 40 years, they had a special relationship, second to none. Did I say when you spend alone time with God that your life will never be the same? Well, Moses and God would meet on several occasions, but there was this one time that, man, it was wild. The old man was up in the mountain with God for an extended period of time, and they had sweet fellowship. That was the second time he was going to receive the 10 Commandments, and God let him write them out on 2 stone tablets. But get ready for this. Now it was so, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain, that Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Exodus 34 verses 29 to 30. Just imagine you spending time with Jesus, and when you reunite with your family and friends, your face is glowing. That you have to put on a veil when people are talking with you. When Moses died, God buried him. There was no human involved. But this is what I want you to hear for yourself. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, who did all those signs and wonders the Lord sent him to do in Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his officials and to his whole land. For no one has ever shown the mighty power or performed the awesome deeds that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. Deuteronomy 34, verses 10 to 12. What a eulogy. I'm thinking of the great prophet Elijah. He had a devastating episode where he found himself running from Queen Jezebel. The brother just had a showdown on Mount Carmel against the 450 prophets of Baal. He defeated them by proving that his God, who is alive, can rain down fire from heaven and consume a heavily soaked altar. Then he called in rain, and after a drought of nearly 3 years, rain fell all over Israel. The queen was mad that Elijah made a fool of her prophets who served the idol Baal. She sent a death threat to the man of God, and he ran away. For more than 40 days in the mountains, Elijah hid from the queen, who had men looking for him to kill him. But Elijah had an encounter with God, and did I say that when those moments come, you'll never be the same again? So here was Elijah feeling sorry for himself and staying away from the towns and cities. But God met him in the mountains, my friend. God spoke to him, and God reignited the passion for service that had been quenched. God had more work for Elijah to do, and this portion of his life was even more exciting, leading up to the time when he was translated from earth to heaven. 1 Kings 19. I could go on and on, but let me say something personal. There is nothing quite like those moments when the house is settled and everyone is asleep, and you rise from your slumber and you get into the presence of the Lord, just the two of us. That is a time when I just melt in his presence. He reveals himself. He speaks to me. He embraces me. He gives me reassurance. I see visions. Those moments with Jesus are invaluable, priceless. They cannot be valued when you have been in the presence of the King. Those times mean a lot to Jesus too. Those are times when it is just you and him. I tell you, your life will never be the same again. Those memories do not leave you, and no one can take away the joy of those precious times with God. If you've never had one of those precious moments, set aside some time this weekend and come into the presence of the shepherd and let him restore your soul. Psalm 23 and verse 3. Sing for him, dance in his presence. Let those moments count for something. I tell you, your life will never be the same again.